now. Okay, guys. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a Minecraft. A Minecraft. Oh, I was shot by a skeleton first thing. Okay. So, there should be a chest over here. There's like chests over here for no reason. Like, why is there chests? Oh, okay. Let's just get some wood. Get some wood. Get some wood. Okay, guys, so we got some wood. Getting some wood. Okay, guys, who's hitting me? Who's hitting me? Already did. Already did. Yeah.
We have two additional YouTube channels, Mr. Ballin Shorts and Mr. Ballin Espanol. We post new daily content on TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook.
Already did.
The page names are all just Mr. Ballin. If you want to get in touch with me, please follow me on any major social media platform and then send me a direct message. My username is just @Mr. Ballin, and I really do read the majority of my DMs. Check out our merch at shopmrballin.com. And if you have a story suggestion, please submit it to our subreddit, just called Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So, whether I see you on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, other YouTube channels, the podcast, wherever, just know that I really appreciate your support. And until next time, that's going to do it. See ya.
Well, that's gonna be it for now, folks. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a Minecraft video. Let's get started.
Continue to check the TV news, to check the radio, the newspapers for some story, some bit of information.
Okay, guys.
About this dead body that was found.
So, let's get some wood.
Absolutely nothing, and it just made no sense. Why wasn't anyone talking about this?
Oh, I'm making my video.
Absence of any official information about what happened,
so let's get some wood.
Circulate among locals that the body belonged to a local fisherman who had gone missing 3 days before Francisco discovered him. And this fisherman, apparently he was an alcoholic, and he'd gone to the reservoir, and he had begun drinking, and apparently he drank so much that it killed him. Now, many people wondered, if this drunk fisherman story was the real story, then why were the police so secretive about the body, and why weren't they willing to give up any information to the crowd about what had happened to this guy? I mean, a drunk fisherman is not a super sensitive thing. It just seemed like that doesn't line up with the police's behavior. But questions like these remained unanswered, and after several weeks of still no new information, no news coverage anywhere, even the most skeptical of villagers who really thought there's something weird going on here, they just kind of forgot about it and moved on. Until 6 years later, in 1994, when someone, we don't know who, from the Brazilian government decided they just couldn't keep the secret any longer. And so they gathered up some photos and an autopsy report they were not supposed to have, and they smuggled those things to the media. And once the media published these things, it became immediately clear that the dead man who was found in the reservoir in 1988 was not a drunk fisherman who drank himself to death, nor was he the victim of gang violence. Instead, it appeared that this person's death could potentially be paranormal. If you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you gotta listen to the brand new Ballin Studios podcast called Bedtime Stories. For the uninitiated, Bedtime Stories has been a long-standing, incredible YouTube channel that puts out just some of the best dark, scary storytelling on the internet. And now they're making this brand new podcast in collaboration with our studio. So if you want some more incredible storytelling to add to your weekly roster of content,
I did.
Go to any podcast platform anywhere.
I did. I started the video.
Ballin Studios and click on Bedtime Stories. They put out new episodes every single Wednesday.
Yeah, I started the video, buddy. I started the video about like 10 days ago. Yeah. Just give me my money. 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 Hey, just give me my money. Just give me my money. Hey, just give me my money. Skibbity bop bop bop, yes yes. Skibbity dop dop dop, yes yes. Skibbity bop bop bop, yes yes. Skibbity dop dop dop, skibbity dop dop dop, yes yes. Skibbity dop dop dop. Cause if you had right foot cream, no man, no man, no me. I said right foot creek, no man, no me, no me. Cause I said right foot creek, no man, no me, no me. Cause I said right foot creek, no man, no me, no me. Rotopeda.
Unidentified flying objects, or UFOs for short. And these are not.
Cause I said right foot creek, no man.
Rotopeda,
because I like my life. I said right foot creek, no man. Rotopeda, because I like.
Happens so much in their country. In fact,
down, 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 bam, down, 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 down.
all across Brazil, everybody's and potentially shoot them down if they had to. Showed obvious signs of intelligence. Now, as mind-blowing as that would be to hear that, potentially intelligent creatures of flying around your areas. Remember, definitely shocked by People of Brazil are seeing this stuff and they're realizing, wait a minute, the nights of UFOs may not have been an isolated instance. Those UFOs may never have left. Here is what the public learned from the leaked photos and the leaked autopsy report. Back in 1988, when little Francisco spotted the dead body from the other side of the water, he correctly identified that it was a man's body.
Huh?
But Francisco had
What do you mean? What are you doing?
when he told authorities that it didn't look like this guy had any visible injuries on him. And the guy was naked, and so Francisco felt pretty confident that he would have seen something if the guy was wounded. But when the police arrived and they saw the body up close, they immediately saw he had several very serious and very strange physical injuries. He had these 4 perfectly circular 1 to 1.5 inch diameter holes in his body.
Let's go, boys. Yeah, baby.
His belly button was gone. It was just a hole where it had been. And there was also one in his crotch.
Just give me my money. Hey, just give me my money.
Almost like whoever had done it was using high-end medical tools to make these cuts. Now, at first glance, the authorities had no idea why these holes were on the body. But when the autopsy was done, they discovered this man was missing the majority of his internal organs, and after doing some investigating, they discovered that all of his organs had literally been vacuumed out of him through these holes on his body. Those holes were basically just forced to pull things out of him. Also, most of the man's blood had been suctioned out of those holes as well. But that wasn't all. The man also had one of his ears removed, one of his eyes was removed, and the lower part of his face was also removed. And again, all of these cuts looked like they had been made with absolute surgical precision. But perhaps the most brutal aspect of all the things that came to light when these documents were leaked was something that, unless you looked really closely at the autopsy report, you wouldn't necessarily notice. And it had to do with this man's vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is something that controls part of your nervous system that's responsible for automatic functions like heart rate and digestion. And so when your body is suddenly in great distress, like suddenly you're fighting for your life or something, your vagus nerve can basically shut off those automatic functions like digestion in order to ensure all your energy is going towards fighting for your life. But in this dead man's case, his autopsy revealed that his vagus nerve had gone absolutely wild right at the moment of his death. It's complicated, but this suggests that this man was very likely alive when his face was being surgically cut off, and those holes were being drilled into his body, and his organs were being vacuumed out. And then at some point, the excruciating pain that came from these horrible things happening to him got so bad, his vagus nerve basically turned off his heart. So it was not these horrible physical injuries that killed him. He literally died from the pain of these physical injuries. In short, his body basically killed itself to avoid feeling the pain it was feeling. So, I'm sure you're wondering, how does the dead man in the reservoir and these leaked photos and the autopsy report, how does all of that connect with the night of the UFOs, which happened 2 years before the man in the reservoir was even found? Well, following the night of the UFOs in 1986, farmers in Brazil who lived in the areas where these famous sightings took place began reporting that their cattle were dying kind of inexplicably. And this began happening with enough frequency in all of these areas where the UFO sightings had taken place that a theory began to develop in Brazil that maybe the UFOs that were here during the night of the UFOs have something to do with all these cows turning up dead. And as that theory began to take hold all across Brazil, that, UFOs are killing our cattle, another theory began to come out of that one, which was, well, if the UFOs are coming in here and killing cattle, what's stopping them from killing people? And then in 1988, so 2 years after the night of the UFOs, and right in the middle of all these farmers all across Brazil saying their cows were dying for no reason, the dead man in the reservoir was discovered. And as soon as the government saw the physical condition this guy was in, with the weird holes drilled in his body, organs missing, and his face
I have no idea what you meant by that, bro, but like, whatever.
Located in this reservoir, which by the way was in a night of the UFO sighting area, the government decided they would have to hide the story. A critical detail that I have left out intentionally until right now is that the cattle who were turning up dead, they were turning up dead with circular holes drilled into their bodies, with organs missing and parts of their faces removed. Meaning, clearly, whatever was happening to these cattle inside of these sighting areas had happened to this man in the reservoir. And if that got out to the public, then it would confirm for many people in Brazil that, yep, the UFOs, they're the ones going after the cattle, and now they're going after us too. And so this was why the police were so secretive about the body and not letting anybody see it or learn anything about it. And it was also why no news was run anywhere in Brazil about the story. It's because the government was really trying to make sure it did not get out. And the government was able to keep it quiet until 1994 when the photos and the autopsy report were leaked. But, like all things having to do with UFOs or aliens or paranormal stuff, it's like despite the evidence, those things very quickly are pushed into the kind of conspiracy theory bucket and they stay there. People do not want to touch that category. So, even though Brazil remains an absolute hotbed for UFO sightings, Wikipedia even has a page dedicated just to tracking Brazilian UFO sightings. Despite all that, no one really cares. But if you care, there is an unbelievable amount of information online about what's going on in Brazil. And if nothing else, it is just a fascinating rabbit hole to fall into. So that's going to do it. If you enjoyed today's story, be sure to check out our podcast called the Mr. Ballin Podcast, where we have literally hundreds more stories just like this one, many of which are only available on the podcast. Again, it's called the Mr. Ballin Podcast, and it's available exclusively on Amazon Music.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running. That's why at Grainger, we're here for you. With professional-grade industrial supplies and fast delivery. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, we're the ones who get it done.
I will be shocked if any of you can figure out what actually happened before I reveal it at the end of the show. But before I get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivering story format, then you come to the right channel because that's all we do, and we upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, then the next time the like button approaches you and says, hey, where's a good place to lay out and get a good suntan? Suggest the faraway dock on Kidney Mountain. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
Okay, guys.
September 15, 2010, a 55-year-old man named Greg Flanagan checked into the Elegante Hotel in Beaumont, Texas to start his work week. As a young man, Greg had worked as a chief engineer on ocean-going vessels, spending months out at sea. But in his middle age, he had reinvented himself as a landman. It was Greg's job to secure leases of mineral rights and land for drilling. Greg was slender and fit-looking, despite the fact that he never exercised and he smoked constantly. He kept a close-cropped white beard, and he had the leathered skin of a lifelong outdoorsman. Every Monday morning, Greg would make the 2-hour commute in his pickup truck from Lafayette, Louisiana, all the way to Beaumont, Texas, where his company would always rent him a room. The hotel itself was neither good nor bad, but to Greg, he didn't care. He just needed a bed and a TV. Once Greg walked inside, he had a bathroom immediately to his right, and then a little bit farther in was the main section of the hotel room, which was very basic. Straight ahead there was a window that looked down onto a small pool that was lined with potted plants. And then in the main space was a queen-size bed tucked up against the right wall, and then on the left wall was a TV. Greg wheeled his one suitcase into the hotel room, and he put it at the foot of the bed, and he opened it up. He pulled out the shirts that he wanted to keep wrinkle-free for the week, and he hung them in his closet. Then he pulled out his toiletries that were kept in a cloth bag with a hook, and he hooked those onto a towel rack. Then he took off his very worn brown boots, his faded blue jeans, and he slipped on some pajama pants. Anytime Greg stayed at the Elegante, he rarely left his room. There was a bar downstairs, but he wasn't a big drinker or socializer. He preferred to just have quiet nights alone in his room watching TV. So that night, Greg cranked the air conditioning to make sure it was as cold as he could get. He liked to sleep in a very cold room. And then he hopped on his bed and put 2 big pillows behind his head, and he rested up against the headboard. And then he took a towel and he laid it out next to him. And on the towel was his ashtray, his cigarettes, his lighter, his phone, the TV remote, and a candy bar. Then he picked up the TV remote, turned it on, flipped through the channels until he landed on one that was playing Iron Man 2, and he thought, good enough. Put the remote down, picked up his candy bar, opened it up, he ate a piece of his candy, and then he grabbed a cigarette, lit up the cigarette, and he began smoking. The following morning, Susie, Greg's wife, did not get a call from her husband. And he always called her every morning that he was gone. That was their routine, and this was a big break in their routine. And so she tried calling him, and his phone rang and rang and rang, and he never picked up. And so then she called his Beaumont office, and he didn't pick up. But after the second or third time she called, his coworkers picked up the phone, and they said, hey, Greg's not here. He hasn't come into work yet. And Susie felt concerned. She felt like something was wrong, and she said, do you guys mind just going to his hotel room and knocking on his door and making sure he's okay? And they said, sure, we'll go over there. So the two coworkers head over to the hotel and knock on Greg's door. He doesn't answer. And so they go down and get the manager, who comes up and opens Greg's door, and right away, Greg lying dead in the middle of his hotel room. The way Greg was positioned when they found him, it looked like he was falling.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
And his left
Come here.
Just like that. That's why I've been sitting here all day, bud.
Immediately after seeing Greg, the two coworkers
Oh, you should be fine.
Detective Scott Apple. Apple was a short guy, very, very fit, with silver hair that spiked up. He looked 100% cop. And he worked basically 24/7. When he got up to room 348, there was no sign of a break-in, nothing had been disturbed inside of the room, and there was no blood or obvious wound on Greg, with the exception of a slight abrasion on his cheek when he came down and hit his face on the rug. He looked around the room and he found Greg's wallet that was sitting in the back pocket of his jeans, and there was hundreds of dollars in his wallet that had not been taken, so he ruled out robbery. He went out into the hall and he began interviewing the other occupants of the surrounding rooms, and no one had heard anything and no one had seen anything. He went back into the hotel room and he began looking around for drugs of any kind or any substance that Greg might have taken that could have contributed to his death. And there was nothing, no prescription pills, no alcohol, nothing. Later that day, after the family had been notified of Greg's passing, his grief-stricken wife, Susie, called Detective Apple and she said, my husband did not take good care of himself. He had a terrible diet. He's been smoking like a chimney since he was a young teenager, and he never saw a doctor. And I always told him that if he wasn't careful, something like this was going to happen. I always worried that he might have a heart attack or something. So at this point, not only does Greg's family think he died of natural causes, Detective Apple also thinks the same thing. He's thinking about what he saw in the hotel room, and there's no sign of any foul play. It just looks like a guy whose lifestyle caught up to him. Greg's body was sent to Dr. Tommy Brown, who in Beaumont, Texas, he was like the medical examiner. He'd been doing this for years and years. Dr. Brown had read ahead that they believed Greg had died of a heart attack or something like that. And when his body was wheeled in front of him,
Your rocket came out pretty good, bud. You did a nice job with that.
What?
Your rocket came out pretty good.
On the outside of Greg's
Thanks.
body was the small abrasion on his face from where he landed on the rug.
You crashed
and
when
he
you
also had another
landed?
small abrasion on his crotch. But beyond that, the rest of his body was completely unblemished. When he looked inside of his body, it looked like someone had literally just crushed his insides. His torso was full of blood. Food from his intestines had been ripped outside. He had ribs broken, internal organs were lacerated, and there was a hole in his heart. Dr. Brown was really confused at what he was looking at, because the severity of Greg's internal injuries were more consistent with someone who had been in a severe car crash or who had had a really heavy object land on them, but Greg didn't have any significant external injuries that would support either of those two things happening to him. And he was found in the middle of a hotel room where there was nothing disturbed and no one had apparently seen or heard anything. And so Dr. Brown says, look, I don't have all the answers here, but this was not natural. This is a homicide, and my best guess is he was beaten to death. I know it doesn't really make sense because there's not any external injuries, but he suffered some significant trauma from somebody else, and that's what killed him. When Detective Apple got this report from the medical examiner, he was just as confused as Dr. Brown was, but his attention turned to, okay, well, if he's been murdered, who would want to murder him? And he began digging into Greg's background, and he found...
Guys, what's up? What's up? Just give me my money. Hey! Just give me my money. Hey! Just give me my money.
Some scandal in the background. He was a really nice, normal guy, and it didn't make any
Give me my money.
sense why you would want to kill him. After a few months of getting nowhere, and in reality,
What's
he hadn't
up?
even gotten started because there wasn't any good starting point. The only thing he could find that was odd about the crime scene
What's up,
was that the room was
homies?
particularly warm when
What's
he walked inside, which was not in keeping with how Greg would have the room. But that doesn't explain
Buddies,
why
buddies,
the
buddies.
inside was warm.
Buddies,
And so he
buddies,
got
buddies.
nowhere, and then he makes a discovery.
How the
He
heck did you already tame a dog? How did you already tame a dog? How did you already tame a dog? How did you already already tame a dog? Tame a wolf. How did you already tame a wolf? Buddy. Oh my.
But that was wildly speculative.
Oh my god. Dang, man. Dang.
They were big partiers and drinkers, and so Detective Apple suggested that maybe when Greg accidentally cut the power to their room, they were really annoyed, and they went outside in the hall and they saw Greg, and they somehow realized he was to blame for this, and in a drunken rage, they attacked him and killed him, and that's what killed Greg. And even though it was a stretch,
Oh
it was the
my
closest
God,
thing to
bro.
a motive Detective
Buddy.
Apple had found in anyone. And so Detective Apple
Of course the video is still going. Of course. Of course the video is. Of course the video is still going.
And all they said was, look, we had no interaction.
The video is still going.
Still.
Of course the video is still going. What did you think, buddy? Like, buddy thought he was him?
At this point, Detective Apple is back to square.
Yay!
And so who was well known for being able to solve really complex cases. And so on a whim, Susie calls Ken Brennan, not expecting to get through to him, thinking he's probably super busy and has other cases because he's on TV and he's this really famous guy. But he picked up the phone and he was like, hey, how can I help you? And Susie couldn't believe it. She had a chance to tell him about what happened to her husband. And Ken said he's really interested in
Oh my.
Ken was a former
Buddy.
Long Island cop and he was a DEA specialist.
Buddy! Buddy!
And he wore
Buddy.
small to show off his muscles, and he usually had a big, gaudy gold chain on. Once Ken agreed to take on this case, he flew right to Lafayette, Louisiana, where Susie lived, and sat down and he asked her a lot of really difficult questions about their marriage, about whether she thought he might be cheating on her, if he had a secret life she didn't know about, and he was satisfied that all
Dude.
He said, okay, well, can you tell me anything about
Why do we
stood out to you? Is there
Why do we have like 20 furnaces? Why do we have like 20 furnaces? 10 bookshelves, 10 bookshelves, shelves, and five enchantment tables. Why?
So that night, Ken diligently looked through all of the documentation, all the photos, and the next morning he goes into Apple's
Why do we have?
And Apple's like, oh, really? You figured it out one day after being here?
Oh my
And Ken's like,
god.
"No, seriously,
Oh
I
my
think I figured it out. I have to confirm
Buddy.
something with his wife, but
buddy.
I don't know what's here." And so Ken
Buddy,
calls
I can't find the glass.
Apple, and Susie
I can't find my glass.
Ken's like, hey, did your husband ever smoke with his left hand or did he smoke with his right hand? And Susie says, oh no, he only smoked with his right hand. And Ken goes, thank you very much. He hangs up and he goes, Apple, I got it. And so Apple says, okay, what's with here? And Ken says, okay.
I cannot find, buddy. I cannot find the glass. I smelt it now.
His room was not air conditioned when they discovered his body because Greg was known for always turning on the air conditioning to as cold as it can get, especially at night when he went to bed. And
Really?
so when his power went out the night before, his air conditioning would have gone out. And so the maintenance guy comes up, turns the power back on, but it doesn't trigger the air conditioning to turn back on. The room is still cold from having been air conditioned all evening. And so the TV is back on, and so perhaps Greg turns and just starts watching TV. Because the room feels air conditioned, he hasn't realized that he hasn't turned the air conditioning back on again. Now, this is Beaumont in the summer, so it's going to get really hot in his room really quickly, and as soon as it starts to warm up in there, he's going to realize, oh, I didn't tell him to do that on, and he would go over and turn it on again. And so, because the air conditioning wasn't on, and we know that the power was restored at 8:30, then he must have died after the power was on, but before it got warm enough in the room for him to recognize he did not turn the AC on, which means he would have died somewhere between 8:30 and 9 p.m. at night. And so Apple's like, wow, that's pretty impressive, except that doesn't really help us figure out how he died or who killed him. And Ken puts his hand up and he says, I know, I'm just building the whole picture here. Okay, so we have him dying between 8:30 and 9, and I don't think he was beaten to death. I think a lot of people want that to be what killed him, because it's kind of the only thing that might make sense, but I
You serious right now? You serious right now? You serious right now, bro?
And so what I think happened is the power came back on at about 8:30, which is what the report says. The TV turns back on. Greg doesn't turn the air conditioning back on. He sits on his bed. He's watching TV. He lights up a cigarette and he's smoking with his right hand. And then something happens to him, which I'll get into my theories on that. And he jumps off the bed and starts making his way to the door to get help. And he
Buddy,
turns the
buddy,
cigarette from his right
buddy,
hand to his left hand.
buddy, you do not,
Turn the doorknob and open
you
the
do
door.
not, you should not give me that much when I could do anything. When I could do anything. When I could do anything that I need.
And then ultimately die. Ken's like, I gotta be in the hotel room to see if it's true. So
Buddy.
Apple and Ken go back to the hotel room. When they get there, Ken goes inside, and sees the ground, and then finally he stops and he goes back towards the front door leading to the wall. And he says, hey. And Apple looks at what he's pointing at, and it looks like there had been some patchwork on the wall in the same spot where the doorknob, when it swings open, it hits the wall. And so Apple's looking at it and he's like, that's just from the doorknob. And so Ken takes the door and he opens it all the way to where the doorknob is touching the wall. And it's to the right of this patchwork, meaning this patchwork is not connected to the doorknob.
Buddy.
Apple was confused and was about to ask questions, and Ken was like on the roll. And he said, hold on. And he goes outside,
yeah.
and he goes next
Right.
door to him, 349,
What you talking about, bro?
and go inside, and Apple walks into the
I will
room,
be
and he's
back.
watching Ken do his work, and Ken's rubbing his hands
Buddy,
off the wall.
come over here and face me like a man. Come over here and face me like a man. Yeah, buddy, you can't, cause you can't. Face it, buddy, face it. Oh yeah, bitch. Ooh. Buddy, you should not have given me that. Bro realized he had fricked up. Buddy realized he had fricked up. Buddy realized he messed up. Buddy, you messed up. Buddy, you messed up. You messed up. Messed up.
And unfortunately, Greg's body had been cremated, but they did have the pictures to look at from the autopsy. And sure enough, they find that little tiny laceration in his crotch was actually an entrance wound. And then when Dr. Brown pointed out there was a hole in the heart, it kind of lined up with the trajectory that bullet had been traveling through his body. Dr. Brown realized he had made a mistake and changed the autopsy report to reflect a gunshot wound. Ken and Detective Apple re-interviewed one of the electricians that had been in room 349.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We want them to sign a statement, basically attesting that this is what I saw or didn't see. And so they
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Buddy, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. This is so fun.
A gunshot was fired from your room.
Hey, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. Bam.
And he said that he
Bam. Bam. Bam.
were goofing around and drinking that night and
Bam.
got a pistol from his car and brought it
Bam.
in. He was goofing around with it. And Lance was trying to get him to stop doing that, but he kept goofing around with the gun.
Bam!
He aimed to
Bam!
Lance, and Lance kind of
Magic on me,
had reacted to this gunshot.
do.
And that made him believe
Chippy, chippy, choppa, choppa, doobie, yabba, yabba, magic, copy, choppa, choppa, boo, 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 chippy, chippy, magic, come, bubba, bubba, boo, 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 chippy, chippy, choppa, boo, choppa, chop, magic, come, do it, do it, do, boo, do, do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go.
If you want to get in touch with me, you can Instagram or Twitter. My username is just John Bowling 416. I also have a contact on TikTok. My username is Mr. Ballin. If you please submit it to a subreddit Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So whether it's you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, or some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support. Until next time, do it. See ya. In 2000, a handwritten note was discovered at the bottom of the ocean up in the Arctic Circle, and it revealed this absolutely horrifying true story.
But in a couple minutes, you're gonna have to get washed up. I'm gonna get your stuff right now.
Papa,
Yo, what?
after I'm done getting washed up, can I have until I have to go to bed on the phone? Can I be on the phone until I have to go to bed? Because I'm playing Minecraft with my friend. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about, baby. I have 50 diamonds. And I have 50 diamonds. And 50 diamonds. 1,000.
Just tonight is a special treat, but I want you to wash up good. Your arms, your feet, your hands.
Okay.
And you'll pick your drink up off the floor.
Special.
Nana told me I was the most handsome guy in the world, but I said, I don't think so, Nana. You got braid right here. You got braid. She said, no, I think it's you. Ah, you're the most handsome, right? And I said, no, Nana. Braden's the most handsome guy in the world. We're not talking
Before
about
we get into that story, if you're a fan of these strange, dark, and mysterious, you have a story format, and you come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once or twice every week. So if that's of interest to you, please invite the like button to go on a long bike ride. But make sure before you step off, you replace the water in your water bottle with hot dog water. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's story. On the morning of August 12th,
Yeah. I did.
Americans are feeling the effect of Border Czar Kamala Harris's radical immigration agenda. Some more than 100.
I was doing a creeper.
Thousands of commercial airplanes in our skies.
Design.
Doing
a creeper design.
Underneath me. Unverified.
Creeper design.
Unidentified. Undenied. Airline pilots weren't afraid to speak out. If you even uttered a word of this, you would have been recruited. Hold on. What are these objects that are being seen? From the cockpits of America's airlines.
What are you doing? What is bro doing?
Everything we know about UFOs is changing. Thanks to a team led by former Pentagon UFO investigator Lou Elizondo. That is real, whatever that is. And former intelligence official.
Oh, that's so cool. Yes. Yes. Creepers. It's like my carpet ever. Yes. Yes. Hashtag slay all day. 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 The weather was not wild today. Wild today. Wild today.
Lou Elizondo investigating the link between UFOs and commercial airlines. But was Tommy government and those commercial pilots are fleeing? But what?
The question is there some sort of underlying interest that these things have potentially with commercial aircraft? If pilots are saying this,
But
Today, Elizondo is meeting with Scott Goodman, a pilot for a major airline, who is coming forward for the first time with his own.
Scott, thank you very much for spending this afternoon with me here today. So Scott Goodnow is the captain for a major commercial carrier, but he also has military experience with the United States Air Force, also flying. In this particular case, you kind of get best of both worlds.
In October 2016, Goodnow was the pilot of a flight from Memphis to Los Angeles. Airbus 320 was carrying nearly 200 passengers.
It was just beautiful weather out, nice wind conditions, and I was just kind of seeing the sky.
Looked like electrical with black stuff. That's what he says until a strange object was observed.
I noticed a orange spherical shape. It was brighter than any of the lights on the ground, brighter than any lights. It was an unusual position, right on the front. It just looked different than anything.
it's so El Riz in Minecraft today.
Some sort of an aura around it.
Crap.
It's
The weather in Minecraft is so El Riz. It's just like so El Riz.
started moving in an angle toward us.
Hold on, bro. Broskies, I'm gonna put on my music.
Got close enough that I took my phone out, took a picture of it. You can see the northwest edge.
Yeah, it is.
White. That was
The weather
that was the closest. Yeah, what looked like an aura, some sort of an aura around it.
mod.
And then behind it, Steve stretch some sort.
A UFO that appeared to be coming straight for Goodnow's plane was exhibiting one of the 5 observables, anti-gravity.
Luminous orbs have been described as having no control surfaces, no flight surfaces, no apparent means of propulsion, and you also have this ability to defy Earth's natural gravity. The size something is, but how big?
When it got close to us, it looked significantly bigger than this. I've seen a lot of airplanes that are somewhat close to us, and they look much smaller than this.
You were 36,000 feet. What was yours?
Approximately 520 miles per hour.
Captain Goodnow was air traffic control, but they said they couldn't see any object on their radar.
Literally, as quickly as I saw it, it just disappeared. Like a lightning ring being turned on.